Thank you for having us here. We're very excited and honored to be a part of your work. We first want to start by saying thank you for dedicating your time and talent to our young people and to educating our next generation. We know that a lot of you in the room can be doing anything and everything, and you choose to be paying it forward for our future. So we're grateful to be here. This is Athletes Advancing Education Equity, featuring two amazing world-class athletes, Arik Armstead and Kristi Yamaguchi. So I want to do a very quick introduction of both of them, and then we will dive in. As mentioned before, if you press engage on the app, we will get to see your compliments of Slido. We will get to see your questions, and you can actually upvote questions of your colleagues, and we'll be sure to bring them to Arik and Kristi at the end. So if I can get the next slide of Arik first. I want to introduce Arik Armstead. I wish he was on stage. He's 6'7", and I think Kristi and Arik need a shot next to each other. Arik Armstead is the defensive tackle for the #1 overall defense in the NFL, the San Francisco 40 Marshall. In his career, Arik registered 269 tackles, 28.5 sacks, not including 2 additional this postseason, 6 passes defensed, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. Perhaps the most distinct honor and what brings him to the stage today at South by Southwest EDU is that he has the distinct honor of being recognized as the NFL nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, in particular for his recognition off the field 3 times in a row. So let's give a round of applause to Arik. Welcome, Arik. And next is Kristi Yamaguchi, right here sitting next to me. Kristi is the 1992 Olympic gold medalist, the first Asian American to win a gold medal in the winter competition, and was inducted into the Olympic Hall of Fame in 2005. She has won numerous awards and accolades, including the Heisman Humanitarian Award, but you all might remember her most recently from being the champion of Dancing with Stars in 2008. So welcome, Kristi. So without further ado, let's get into some conversation with both Arik and Kristi. You'll see some QR codes at the end as well to learn more about their organization, but I'm hoping we can do that through conversation. So first of all, welcome Kristi and Arik. I think we got to get Arik back on the screen. And I'll start with you, Kristi. Would love for you guys are amazing athletes in your own right, and you could choose any cause to contribute to, both of you. And you do, in fact, you are philanthropists elsewhere, but you dedicate your whole talent, time, and platform to education equity. Why? Why education, why equity for you?
Well, I think, one, becoming a mom and seeing my 2 daughters develop that love of reading, and realizing it's the foundation. Education really is the foundation for a child's success anywhere in life, and that's where their dreams start. And I feel like my daughters were lucky to have the support, the resources, the encouragement to really go after their dreams, and they're still pursuing their dreams. But seeing where other kids maybe don't have that extra support, that encouragement, I really wanted to provide that and make sure that every child has the opportunity to dream, to become an Olympian, to become a football player, a doctor, an educator, whatever it is. And, Always Dream is all about leveling that playing field and providing access, providing, a way to close that opportunity gap and make sure that all children can contribute eventually to their dreams, to our communities, and, lift everything up.
I love it. I'm going to ask you, after we hear from Arik, about something in your education that you still latch on to as you think about your platform. Arik, why education equity?
First off, thank you for the excellent intro, and I'm very happy to be here virtually with you guys. Education equity for me, when I sat down and thought about how I can have the biggest impact. And the way I view society, I feel education equity is a solvent to a lot of issues that I see in our country. And when you look at the achievement gap, the poverty gap, other social injustice issues, I think education equity is the root of all of those. And we live in America where you're told to, we all believe in the American dream, to work hard, go to college, get a good job, make money for your family. But the foundation of that is your education. And you look at our country, and a lot of people don't have those opportunities, and we're shutting a lot of people out of that dream. And I didn't feel that it was fair that your education was determined by your zip code. And I don't think socioeconomic status should be the determining factor in people's dreams and success. And so that's why I found it important to invest in young people and make sure that they have the opportunities they need to be successful. And I'm also, it's became more important for me also too, now being a father of two daughters, and wanting to create a better life for them and also the rest of society. So that's why I find it important.
I love that both of you have personal connections as community members, advocates, but then also parents. And though you're at very different stages, Arik's kids are little babies, and Kristi and Brett's kids are almost grown in college, but you both have that as your source of inspiration, which is really great. Do either of you have, oh, and there's captions going on. Do either of you have any sort of memory of you being in school that you draw upon as part of whether your inspiration for continuing the work that you do or amplifying an experience that happened to you? Kristi, you want to start on that one?
Sure. I mean, I have a lot of fond memories. Our program always dreamed targets 4 and 5-year-olds, so pre-K, transitional kindergarten, and kindergarten. And I remember my kindergarten years fondly, and having story time as one of my favorite times, right? And you know, people ask, well, how did you get in skating? How old did you start? And you know, looking back now, it's so funny that I'm in early childhood literacy, because I remember my mom saying, well, you can take skating lessons when you start to learn how to read. So that was my huge motivation to really get reading. And so first grade, I was able to start skating lessons. But yeah, I mean, I think that—
Good thing you learned how to read.
I know, right? And you know, and reading became my favorite thing to do. I was a very shy, introverted child, and books were kind of my escape. I think learning and, you know, the discovery of that, the adventures in books gave me confidence, and I think opened up a whole new world that maybe I was a little timid to experience as a child. So, you know, I just look at reading as, you know, it's a gateway, right, to other things out there in the world, and it opens up the child's mind. So I think experiencing that myself, experiencing it as a mother with our daughters, is a big part of the reason why early childhood literacy is our focus.
So important to you. And you're an author of 3 children's books. She'll be at a book signing after this, so you'll have to check that out. But your chance to also provoke that kind of curiosity for other kids is, at that age, is great. Arik, any childhood memories or education experiences you want to share that you think were formative for your use of platform?
Yeah, when I look at my experience, I look at kind of 3 things. I look at my personal experience in education. I also look at other people's experience. And, you know, there was kind of 3 things that I think about that were foundational for me. One, personally, I really struggled with reading when I was young. I was really behind with my peers. I took, you know, remedial classes. I I had to go to school before my brothers and sisters. So that always stuck with me, and I had the support from my mom, and I had the support from my teachers to help me get to get better and get more confident. And I really think that that could have been, if I didn't have that, that could have been a big determining factor in my future, of falling behind and never reaching success. Also think about my experience with some of my educators throughout the years, some great, and also some bad. I think about the racial bias that my family as a whole experienced in our school district. You know, me, all my brothers and sisters, I have two brothers and sisters, we all had different situations that we dealt with, that, you know, were tough to deal with. And also, I think about a lot of the great experiences, the great teachers I had that poured into me and really made sure that I had what I needed and went that extra mile to help me, you know, be successful. And I look at my peers too. I feel like I'm really blessed. I felt that I had a lot of support. I felt that my life was poured into. I felt that, you know, that's the real reason I became successful. And I look at my peers and people who didn't have that, and I have compassion for that. And that's a big part of the reason why I decided to do this, was not only thinking about my experience, but looking at my peers and looking at other people, and what I've been blessed with and what I've been privileged with that other people don't have, and wanting to fill that void and making that a responsibility of mine. So that's really what laid the foundation for everything I'm doing now.
Well, let me keep you going on. So tell us a little bit about what you are doing. Tell us about the Armstead Academic Project.
Yeah, so the Armstead Academic Project was founded in 2019 officially. And I've been doing things in the community my entire career. It started off with just a free football camp for youth. And it's now become a you know, full-blown organization, which has been a lot of fun. But like I talked about previously, sitting down and thinking about how I can have impact, how I can create change in people's lives, education, equity was the number one thing for me. And then that transformed into, well, how do I have impact? And now the organization is focused on serving our disadvantaged youth. We focus with literacy with our elementary school students. We focus on a STEM program with our middle school students. And then high school is all about career and college exploration. And also, as of late, have been doing a lot of advocacy for funding for students. You know, being from Sacramento and that being the capital of California, I feel it's perfect for me to be in the midst of all that and have this platform that I do to advocate for students for more funding, for more equity, and to make sure that students have what they need. And that's what we're focused on, and we're going to continue to grow and evolve and serve more and more youth.
Can we get a round of applause for that, please? That's awesome. All right, Kristi, tell us what Always Dream is up to.
So like I said earlier, we focus on early childhood literacy, 4 and 5-year-olds, and we have a program called Always Reading that really goes into the schools. So we work with school districts and then down into the principals and the teachers to help identify the classrooms that we go into, particularly underserved communities. And our program is kind of threefold. We bring in digital tablets and a digital library, so providing access to thousands of books for our students. And we also provide a book coach. So this particular book coach is that direct contact with the families. So it's a family engagement program with literacy as our tool, and it's really for after school. So we're really connecting the teachers with the families at home, and then all the reading that we are monitoring is taking place in the home environment. So it's all about helping families create a consistent reading routine at home. The book coach provides direct support, reading strategies for those families, and we are monitoring the usage of their reading on the tablets, so we can see what books they're reading, how many minutes they're reading, and when it looks like they need a little encouragement, our book coach reaches out and asks how they can be of support to kind of get those families back on track. So I love the analogy our executive director, Erica, uses. It's like providing a free membership to the gym. We're providing the access, but it doesn't mean you're going to work out, right? So our book coach is that personal trainer who really is the accountability factor, and I think it's kind of our secret sauce of what the schools really like. We're trying to take some of that family engagement pressure off the teacher, and we fill that gap into the home environment. So it's adding capacity for the teachers. It's really being that support system, as we saw through the pandemic and distance learning. Some families weren't prepared. A lot of us weren't prepared to be that at-home teacher. And this is Always Reading really empowers those families to feel comfortable with it, to understand their role and how important being that first teacher at home. It's the #1 indicator for a child's literacy success. And so that's really the goal of our program.
Round of applause for Kristi's organization. So I'm going to start with you, Kristi. I want to just shift the gears a little bit. A lot of you in the room and watching live are educators yourselves. You might be school administrators, district leaders, also education-adjacent nonprofits. Tell us a little bit about the challenges. Your scaling strategy at Always Dream is around partnering with school districts and schools to provide these tablets for a classroom. What are your challenges that you faced navigating the school systems in several markets at this point?
Yes, currently we're throughout Northern California and also Hawaii, so those are our main regions that we are currently serving. And it's finding, that partnership. We really, really look for a good, strong partnership with the district, with the teachers, and making sure that our resources are being utilized in the way they're designed to. So, it's finding the right partners, getting the teachers involved. When they're our biggest advocates, that's when we see the most success with their families, with the reading, and they see that translate into the classroom as well. Funding is always a big one. We do look for some partnerships with the districts and the schools. As we know, funding is not equitable throughout our schools and equal, so it's finding a way to fill that family engagement need and satisfy that need for that school, and helping them find maybe some funds. We don't ask for 100%, but a little bit to really have some skin in the game as we bring our program to the schools.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed both of you, Eric and Kristi, have these large platforms, and you're making some real local impact. And I'd wonder, Eric, if you could speak a bit to the areas that you are focused on, and also if people want to, in their own regions, with you guys or elsewhere, to reach out to an athlete or to engage an athlete. People get intimidated by that and they don't quite know where to start. So I was hoping you could speak a bit about your region, and also what your advice would be for folks that want to better engage athletes into education activities.
Yeah, so I'm from Sacramento, California. Love being from there. Take great pride in that. And also have been blessed to play on the 49ers for my entire career. And so, you know, it's been great to be close to home and really serve Sacramento, but also starting to serve the Bay Area more. And that's been through a great partner we've had thus far, Mercy Housing Project. And it really goes straight into the demographic that we want to serve. We want to serve, you know, people and youth who don't have opportunities and are underserved. And Mercy Housing has housing all over California, and a lot of people that we can serve. So that's been great. And in terms of working with athletes, I would say that
Uh-oh. You're glitching, Eric. And you've become painted. Okay, we'll pause on that one. When he resumes, we'll hear the answer to that. I'm gonna go ahead, Kristi.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna just add in some other texture to some of the other challenges of bringing an outside program into the school. Is like we know that our teachers are stretched to capacity right now, that they have a lot of challenges in place. There's still a lot of COVID recovery going on, and sometimes the perception is when an outside program is brought in, it's going to take up more of their capacity, and we might find some resistance there. And I think working with the teachers and helping them understand that we're trying to add to their capacity and really take some off their plate as far as getting to the families, and knowing when, and we can even help. Sometimes we'll ask the teacher, what are you working on in the classroom right now? And, it's about, tractors. We're working, so we will create a collection in the library that the children have of specific subjects like tractors, and to support the work that's going on in the classroom. So it's helping the teachers understand, like, okay, we're not adding
not
work
trying
for
to be
you.
an additional
Yes.
checklist item. Yeah.
Yes, but we really want to help you and be a support for the teacher as well.
I like, we have Eric back. I'll just add on to what you were saying, Kristi. One of the things I remember is not only are you able to curate content for teachers that are responsive to what kids are learning, but I remember remembering a kid that for the first time skyrocketed their reading after they read a book about Taylor Swift. And so they were able to bring that information back to the teacher and say, this kid's really inspired by Taylor Swift. Maybe you should think about highlighting other athletes or other entertainers. Okay, Eric, you were about to drop some wisdom on us and then we lost you. You got painted and glitchy. So how can people work with athletes?
Yeah, one thing I would say that we are super regular. I feel that I am just a regular old guy, and what I do is really, it's football is really cool. A lot of people find it very cool, and we do are put in seen in a different light. But at the end of the day, we're just regular people, and more often than not, there is a want there that athletes have to impact their communities. Young guys talk to me all the time, asking me, I love what you're doing for your community. How can I do something similar in mine? And so the want is there, and I think really it's just all about that connecting. And so just reach out if you have a athlete or someone in entertainment in your area that you feel could be helpful. Just try to reach out, try to get in contact, and more than likely, they're going to be receptive to that. And a lot of times, guys are always looking for ways to be helpful. I think there's a lot of passion there, but a lot of times, guys just don't know how to get involved or really what to do. So I would just say, we're regular. We're reachable, hopefully, and just reach out and try to make that connection. And come to them with, some way that they can be helpful and, kind of have it already set up, so they don't have to, put so much into it, but leverage, their platform and their influence to cater to young people. Young people really look up to us. So that's what I would say.
That's great. I'll even echo to say that, there are teachers that are, I happen to have some intimate knowledge of both Kristi and Arik's nonprofits, and I'm currently supporting Arik's nonprofit. And there are teachers that will just reach out on Instagram and say, my kids would be really inspired to have somebody either Zoom in or do a story time. Is there any way that we can get involved? And we really take all of those requests very seriously and try to see if we can accommodate them based on scheduling difficulties or travel or whatever it is. So no classroom or no request is too small, I think, for folks that really want to make a difference. Well, I'm going to switch gears so that we can leave time for the audience questions too. Hopefully, as a reminder, you all are asking questions on your app, so we can have some good Q&A from you all as well. I want to talk. I am super. I don't know what the word is. Intrigued. I'm fascinated by world-class athletes and how they are able to specialize in their craft. And I think people who are spectators like ourselves don't really know what goes behind the scenes in their training, in their off season, in their lifestyle. They sort of live and breathe their sports. And I'm curious about, I want to give you both some time to talk a little bit about your routines and things that you've learned when you've been training or when you've been off season, that could be analogies for how we as educators and education adjacent practitioners can be thinking about our own craft. I want to highlight, Kristi, that your sport by and large is an individual sport, or at least you've done pairs, but individually skating. And then Arik, you're active right now in a team sport, and there's so much team dynamics. And so wondering if you guys can both speak to some sort of real life experiences that keep you trained up, and some advice for us in the audience. Who wants to go first on that one?
I can go.
Go for it, Arik.
Okay. Some of the things that have been really helpful for me and helped me to be successful, I feel like this long, I'm going on year 9 in the NFL. And I think that from what I've seen and just doing like self-evaluation also is just a great characteristic is never being comfortable, never being satisfied. I live by this mantra, stay hungry, and truly that's what I feel has got me this far is I never really feel comfortable. I've done a lot of great things. I've made a lot of money. I've had some success, but there's always a burning desire to do more. And I never really feel comfortable. I always have this like, am I not doing enough? Am I going to be prepared? And that sense of thinking that way has led me to outwork a lot of people. It's led me to be over-prepared and ready for my opportunities. It's led me to expand my knowledge of my craft and really hone in on my craft and make sure that I am getting everything I can out of my opportunity. And that's something I feel has really helped me to be successful. Never feeling comfortable, and always putting in the extra work to make sure that I'm prepared and I'm ready. And another thing too, I don't think people always view athletes in this space is I started talking to a sports psychologist, going on 2 years now, and there's a lot that we deal with, both on and off the field, and really talking to someone, changing your perspective on a few things of that you go throughout life, both sports, family, balancing all these things, everything that I'm trying to accomplish has really been helpful for me. And so taking care of yourself is very important. I'm really excited this year to start doing more teacher appreciation things. We have an event coming up where we're going to try to show teachers appreciation and give them some skills to take care of themselves as well, and make sure that they have, that they're taking care of themselves so they can serve their students, and they have families and all these things they're dealing with, and talking to someone through those things is very helpful. But also taking the time to make sure that your mind is right, you have the right mindset, that you're taking care of yourself physically as well, so that you can serve at a high level and do your job at a high level and balance all these things, I think is important.
So I love that, because I think we don't hear enough from specifically football athletes around mental wellness and around sort of taking care of holistic health. I wanted to just ask you a follow-up question. What struck me about getting to know you is the rest of the season, the rest of the audience and the fans are waiting for NFL to start up again in the fall. And many guys will take a break and a breather, much deserved. But what I learned of you is that you have an off-season training routine constantly. And I wondered if Kristi and I were chatting, I think yesterday, and we were saying that for most folks, off-season or summer break is a bit of a rest and a catch your breath, recoup. For world-class athletes, it's actually the critical place in which you prepare for your upcoming next round, and rest has to be put in between your regular training. So I just wanted to see if you wanted to riff on that for a second, Arik, before I hand the mic to Kristi.
Yeah, there's really not much downtime. There's really no off season. I think the off season is great for a mental rest, to, break the monotony up. We're working constantly. We're with our teammates, we're in the facility all day. So giving yourself a mental rest, I think, is very important. Also resting your body, but you can never, relax. There's never really no, like, I'm done. No, it's let me take some time away to rest my mind and start building my body back up for the grind of, a 7-month season, and all the wear and tear that comes with that, mentally, physically. You have to take time to work on your relationships in the off season, because there's not much time to cultivate those relationships, even family. It's very difficult. So I think it's a time to rest mentally, but physically it's hard. We start back up with the team. I got done, a couple weeks ago. We start back up with the team in 5 weeks. And so you can't get all the way out of shape. You have to continue to build your body back up for the next season. So.
Awesome. Kristi, what would you add to all these conversations? Very curious about your perspective.
Yeah, so the first part was all about the
routines and
yes.
What things you do that could be translatable to us lay folk.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't say this is the real world here. The athletic world is a whole different one. But, I think finding success or finding ways to kind of build and get to those steps, goal setting was just imperative. Every year I had a new goal. My coach taught us how to even break it down to each week and each training session. And I think, ultimate goal was someday go to the Olympics, but as a, 9, 10-year-old, just some far out of reach, right? So, having the smaller goals each year and taking those small steps, I think, helped keep me motivated on the direction I was going. So even those small steps were like, okay, I'm getting there. And there was some reward, right, in reaching each of those smaller goals that kind of helped get me to that closer, to that bigger one. And, and I think adding on to what Eric was saying about being uncomfortable, it's like, it's okay to fail. I think athletes, we fail way more than you see. You see the glory of us standing on the podium or winning a championship, and that's the end result, but it's everything that came before that that has prepared us for a lot of different things in life.
How do you deal with failure? Like, what? Maybe this is very personally, but like, what are your tools that you've come up with to manage your failure or your internal chatter when those things happened?
Well, in skating, it's just very obvious. Like, you're splat on the ice, and there's no hiding your failure there. And, in training, we just are taught to get back up, and you keep going. You try to put it behind you, and keep moving on with your performance, because ultimately, it's the whole performance that matters, maybe not just that one element. And as you go through, sometimes a competition doesn't go well, or many times, and it was like picking yourself up and being like, okay, that sucked. Why did that happen? And it was just always dissecting, like, okay, what happened there? What can I do to move forward and learn from it? But just not being afraid. I think, my competitive career was over when I was 20. And at that age, it was like, okay, life can't go downhill from here. I'm only 20. What else can I do? And it was finding that next challenge. I think it was being open to always finding a new challenge. Like Eric said, be uncomfortable and taking risks, because I know we can all get very comfortable. But, being from the Bay Area and being amidst so much innovation, I think that's something that always intrigued me. It was like, okay, we want to be ahead of the curve. We want to be trailblazing. And I think, we started this always reading program in 2012, and people looked at us crazy, like, you're putting a tablet into a 5-year-old's hand? No. And we're like, it's the digital world. Like, this is happening. And so it's finding innovative ways to really keep going. And I think, that's the excitement, and that, sometimes I get comfortable too, but it's like, okay, no, if we want to keep moving forward, if we want to, do something new, then it's like, let's try to push ourselves and get uncomfortable.
I love that. Well, I want to give plenty of space for you all to ask questions. So at this time, I'll ask our colleagues here to put up the Slido questions, and Eric and Kristi, I just want you guys to riff. I'll say the question, and then feel free if whoever wants to go first, or if you have something to say. Okay, one question from Anthony, and it's been upvoted by the audience. What educational or learning resources are most needed for young professional athletes today? So I interpret that to mean sort of what are the ways that educators or systems can scaffold around promoting young professional athletes coming up? Good question. We'll give them some time.
I would say the number one thing they need is financial literacy, not just professional athletes. I don't think financial literacy is taught in our schools. I haven't really seen it much, and I think it's super important that students, especially young professional athletes, know how to manage personal finances and start to learn those things at a young age.
Anything to add that you'd say?
Well, I absolutely agree with that. I think we've heard it so many times where professional athletes have this huge contract, and then all of a sudden they retire with nothing. And so, but I think even in the real world, looking at my own daughters who are 17 and 19, helping them understand, okay, you don't just put in the debit card and cash just comes out, unconditionally. It's like somehow the cash is put in there so you can, and so helping them, learn how to budget and learn the value of everything that's put in and how to save money. And, but for sure, financial literacy, I think all around for, kids, especially in middle school, high school, and then moving on.
Yeah.
Once they hit the real life, it's a very shocking experience.
It's a brutal world. I wonder, just before we leave this question, I wonder if you guys have thoughts around, I'm also a mom of young kids, and I have that difficult time balancing the growth mindset of you can do anything and everything with enough strategy and effort. And so you want to be the next Steph Curry, go for it. I'm thinking of my 11-year-old, with also some reality around what it takes to build, almost building that discrepancy of what it takes to get the work in to achieve that high level of performance. Do you guys have any just knee-jerk reactions to how we as educators, parents, should be helping hold both lines of following your dreams and also being realistic about the work that it takes to get to that dream?
I'll start, and then I'll pass it to Eric. But skating is just such a unique thing because the training has to take place in an ice rink, which it's a location that you have to somehow find and get to and have availability. And so our training sessions were primarily before school, so 5 a.m, and then sometimes after school. So it's but education in our household was very important. And my my parents always stressed, okay, as long as you're keeping your grades up, we'll take you to the rink. You can get your training in. But it's a fine line because, obviously the drive has to come from the athlete. It's the parents.
There's a cost to it, right? Like if you're working out in the morning and after school, you're missing out on maybe other parts of socialization with friends. And so there's a cost that comes with that drive.
Yes. There is absolutely cost. And I think it's tough right now. Sports have become so specialized. I think kids growing up used to, have football season and then soccer season, then baseball season, and now it's like all those sports are year round, and so it's a little more difficult. And skating too. Skating is year round, and so I'm not sure. I don't have the perfect answer for that on how to balance it because somehow we learned it or we got through it. My parents, had the stress of education as well as the skating, but my focus was so on the skating that people were like, oh, you sacrificed, you didn't do this, that, whatever. And it was like, for me, it was a choice. Yeah.
Eric, any thoughts about where that line is between helping people with their goals and also keeping it real?
Yeah, I talk about this a lot often. It takes it's tough for me to say. I obviously am a professional athlete. My brother also played in the NFL too. I have another brother who never played sports, sister never played sports. So I get that, you always have a chance, you don't want to shatter someone's dreams. And so the way I view it is like all the way through high school, I feel like sports are great. Want to go after it, do it. As a parent, I would provide everything, in my, that I'm capable of providing to help you pursue it. And I think sports are great. I think they're very social. I think you learn a lot of, skills. They develop character, all those things. So I think that is great. And then once you kind of get to the real world, you kind of have to make those decisions of what's best for your life, what's best to pursue. And you have to have realistic conversations with yourself. I am 6'8", 290 pounds. Not everyone is going to be that. And so, yeah, you gotta You got to have real conversations with yourselves. I think the opportunities presented to you are going to be the determining factor in that. And once the opportunities run out, then you know it's time for you to transition into something else. As long as the opportunity, I think people get in trouble where the opportunities run out and then they're like, they keep trying to fight it. It's like, no, this is what I'm going to do. But the opportunities and the people who are in those spaces are saying you need to do something else. So I think that's where people run into a lot of trouble. And I tell young athletes, like, don't, your blessing is your blessing. Don't turn down your blessing trying to fight for another blessing. You know, your blessing might have been just playing in
I
college
love that.
and having a scholarship, right? Like, accept that blessing, realize that, you know, professional might not be for you, but accept what your blessing is. I feel like people try to fight for more and don't really grasp what they did actually achieve. You know, what the college experience, like if you get a scholarship, I've seen a lot of athletes, you know, want to push to try to become pros. It's like, no, your blessing was college and your education, and take advantage of that. So I think the opportunities determine your what decision you should make there.
I love that. I love both of your examples. I mean, for you, Kristi, from a young age of like knowing, setting a goal from being an Olympian, and then working backwards in years and training. And then Arik, I like your distinction of saying opportunities for kids up through high school should be open, accessible. People should follow their dreams. But once you get to high school and or college, really taking stock of what the trajectory and the, you know, what it looks like out there, and accepting potentially a revision of your goal into embracing a different blessing. I love that. Okay, there was one question that came up and then fluttered away, but I think it was a good one. I'm super curious about it, so I'm gonna throw that one up here, which is the worst advice that you ever got from a coach or an educator or somebody in your childhood, a mentor. You know, what was the worst advice? Because we have time to be positive towards the end, so.
I can go. I think that I wouldn't say a piece of advice, just a mentality that, and it's funny, we were just talking about that, you know, trying to be realistic, I guess, but just the mentality that I feel like a lot of adults project their experience, what happened to them in their life, onto young people and other people. And that's something that's happened to me. And it's just not a good feeling, really. Like, I think it's well intended, but projecting your life experiences and, you know, your failures or what happened to you in your life onto someone else, I think is a bad way of mentorship. And I think you should use your life experience to, you know, share knowledge, but projecting that and, oh, this is what happened to me, so, you know, it'll probably happen to you too, or stuff like that. I've heard that, and it's pretty limiting to young people, especially because young people only have who they know really in their, you know, a lot of people don't have, you know, growing up, you're not afforded to know all these people doing amazing things and, you know, open up your mind to what's possible in life beyond who you know, your family, the jobs they have, you know, maybe a couple adults that you meet. And so how you mentor, I feel is very impactful because kids don't have a lot of great role models, you know, so.
So the world is small, and so your role in it as a mentor has a huge influence, and not keeping track of your own projections can be really limiting. Kristi, what would you, worst advice?
I think not necessarily from a coach or an educator, but from the association that I was skating for, the international officials. And, I think they were trying to mold, the skaters to be a certain way. And I think putting pressure on, who, like Eric said, like who they thought, okay, you shouldn't skate to that music. You need to lose weight. Don't wear that kind of costume. I mean, small frivolous things, but at the same time, it's affecting the mentality of the athlete. And I think for a while, there was actually time, a year and a half before the Olympics, where I actually questioned myself whether this was something I was made for and whether I wanted to keep going. And I think when I took off those expectations and skating for other people and realizing like, okay, why did I start skating? Why did I go on this path, and do I want to keep going? And I realized, yes, there are things I haven't done yet that I would still want to accomplish, but I had to find a way to get that love, that passion that I had as a little girl skating back, and that was just taking ownership again. And realizing that, okay, I'm not doing this for other people. Yes, you got to walk that line of like playing the game and making sure that you're not totally off on the tangent somewhere else. But being confident with who I was out on the ice and what I was bringing to the ice and taking ownership back. So that really brought the joy back in and made just a huge difference in the next year and a half of my.
I love that too, because it's about what I hear in your answer is around finding self-validation and self-confidence, which is so hard, I think, for our young people in a very social media type world. Is, are you taking the selfie for your own confidence or to present yourself in a certain light with your friends and your peers? And so that notion of coming back to your own roots of what your own confidence and truths are is wonderful. All right, I'm going to do yeah, go for it, Eric.
Yeah, and when I was talking about projection, something that happened to me was people just telling me to just focus on football. Like, you're trying to do too much. You're trying to do, I was interested in business and obviously building on my nonprofit, and I was trying to do other things outside of football. And I heard a lot just people telling me, no, you should just be focused on football. I think that may have been part of the projection, like, oh, I couldn't balance all those things, so you can't. And that was very limiting to me. And I feel that having athletes just stick to their sport is on a course for disaster when it all ends. And I think athletes need time to explore different things and find other interests. And so they have something to do and some identity outside of just the sport they play.
I think that's also so important in terms of identity. We see this a lot in the nonprofit space and also within the education space of if you live, breathe, eat, sleep your work and not diversify that identity, it becomes really difficult to know when it's time to do something else or when it's time to leave. Burnout you're much more susceptible to burnout. So I think that notion of understanding that we are multifaceted humans with multiple identities is a really wise one, no matter what profession we're in. Okay, we're at time, so I want to put up our closing slide and invite Eric. And I got very excited about QR codes, you guys. So this is my my foray into technology. There's a QR code which might be blocked by these captions, but a QR code for the Armstead Academic Project and one for Always Dream. And I wanted to just ask you, Kristi, and you, Eric, what can folks do to engage with you all and support your work, support your platforms, and support the causes around all athletes, world-class athletes or influencers using their platforms for education, equity, and good. So any closing comments? Maybe we'll start with you, Kristi, because we'll let people do QR codes one more minute.
Sure, no, absolutely. Alwaysdream.org is our website, so all kinds of information there, what our latest happenings are. We have a very ambitious 5-year strategic plan that is ahead of us. Right now, this school year, we're serving 1,000 students, 2,500 individuals, counting the family members, and our growth is really skyrocketing right now. So by 2027, our goal is to be serving 10,000 individuals with our program, so reaching more schools throughout the California and Hawaii. So we definitely invite anyone and everyone to join us in this journey of supporting more students and really giving them that support of digital and literacy resources.
Awesome. And then now we can go back to Arik on the screen. And Arik, let's make sure you're there. There you are. How can people engage and support AAP?
Yeah, the website's there, so you can learn more about what we're doing. We have I'm really excited about this year and what we're doing. And really how I feel people can support is I'm really about advocacy as well, and I really want to connect with more educators to learn how to better serve, and also to offer my platform to education equity as a whole, not only where I'm at, but I feel that with my platform, I can serve the country. And so initiatives, things that people find important, I want to learn about ways to help, and also I want to partner and do great work together. So I'm reachable and looking forward to connect, and also looking forward to continue to grow AAP this year. It's going to be an awesome year.
That's great. And I know both the audience live and here can find you on Instagram, Armstead Academic Project, and Always Dream. And there are staff that steadily check those messages. So please do drop us a line if there's a way to support or engage, collaborate with these organizations. Well, we did it, Arik and Kristi. We're really grateful to be here. Thank you for having us at South by Southwest EDU, and most importantly, thank you for all that you all do to better serve our community and the future generations. We're really excited to be a part of this conversation, and by no means, this is all a drop in the bucket. Education equity is a very, very large, audacious goal with potentially no arrival point. So let's all keep working and figure out how to support each other along the way. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.